Hey everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and today I want to talk about my top 5 least favorite cards in Arkham Horror. Player cards, that is. We're not including anything from the encounter deck. And before I start, Grievous Wound is the honorable mention representative of a whole gaggle of cards. I had a list of like 40 cards before I realized I need to stop getting this type of card. There are so many cards in Arkham Horror that are just binder filler, that they either don't do enough or don't do what they're intended to do, and you should never run them. And Grievous Wound is my poster child for bad cards where I would never run them and I dislike them, but ultimately they don't have the sort of visceral response that a top 5 has from me. Grievous Wound just fails to do its job. Its one niche is using damage over time to kill a boss, but because it specifies not elite, it can't even do that, and that makes it a great poster child to show off some other people in this same category real quick. We've got Colleen Sneak, a 4 experience card where if you have 3 exhausted enemies at your location, it was maybe okay. Like maybe kind of okay if there are 3 exhausted enemies at your location, which is a huge amount to ask for out of a 4 experience card. This card just doesn't do anything. Trench Knife, Blackjack, and a million other weapons like Song of the Dead that really just don't do anything. Burglary, Investments, and Fence, all the bad economy cards that don't actually make you money. This is where we put Relentless. Robes of Endless Night, I forget this card even exists. I occasionally look at it and I'm like, oh, right. So after I play 3 spells, it will have been emergency cash that gave me 2 health soak. All right, cool, not gonna run that. And whatever Grimm's Fairy Tales is supposed to do, it's not very good at doing it. But let's move on to our real number 5, Lightning Gun. That's gonna be a weird one for some people, I imagine. Having Lightning Gun be one of my 5 most hated cards might come off a little bit weird. And Lightning Gun is sort of representative of a problem. Big guns that aren't flamethrower. But honestly, the only other one is Shotgun and the bar is much better than the Lightning Gun, and the Shotgun is at least a cool, funny meme, but the Lightning Gun costs 6 resources for no reason. This would cost 4 and it would still be comparatively weak next to its other options. It gives plus 5 fists, but like no one who's main fighting and spending 5 experience on guns other than Sister Mary would ever need that. It only deals 3 damage with 3 shots. It doesn't do enough and it costs too much at every point. This could be a 4 ammo, 4 cost, 5 experience gun, and it would just become competitive with its alternatives. It wouldn't drown them out. And the reason Lightning Gun is my 5th least favorite card is because like once a year, once every half a year, I'll go and look at Lightning Gun. Like, oh yeah, I've only been looking at Flamethrower and Brand of Kadaga for a while. What's Lightning Gun do again? Maybe it can fit in the deck. And I'm just always astounded. Everything about it is worse than I remember every time I go look at what it does. It's so undertuned. The reason I dislike this card so much is it's a constant reminder that like the actual in-game fighting stuff for Guardian isn't really where it should be. And it's just not getting fixed lately because they keep printing Guardians that don't fight. We've had Carson, we've had Sister Mary, we've had Lily Chen, who like does have some Guardian fighting stuff, but not anything related to big guns. It's sort of non-traditional compared to what we got previously. And I really just want to see like more normal fighting Guardians printed so we can start getting cards to replace the Lightning Gun. And honestly, I would really like to see the next taboo list mutate or unchain or something to this to make it more competitive, because there's just not a reason to run this over the alternatives and it makes me deeply emotionally upset. Speaking of things that make me very sad, Elder Sign Amulet. Again, this is just like a perfectly fine card. If you run this, it probably wasn't the worst card in your deck. That's also true with Lightning Gun. But you know what it was? It was proof that your deck was suboptimal. Spending 3 experience and a 2 resources and a next slot for nothing but Horror Soak is never the right thing to do. Mr. Brook and Lab Assistant and Seeker. In Guardian, you have Hallowed Mirror. In Mystic, like all your cards soak horror. What are we talking about? You don't need this. In Rogue, you can get infinite Horror Soak off of Lonnie Ritter. You can run expendable Soak allies. There's always something to do other than this. Every class doesn't need this. So when this ends up in your deck, and to some degree this is representative of all pure Soak items, if this is in your deck, it's proof that something has gone wrong, and that's why I really dislike Elder Sign Amulet. Coming over to my 3rd least favorite card, this is one of 2 on the list that's here because it is too strong. It's the Key of Yeast. This card's just nuts. Even at Exceptional, like just run a backpack. The people who wanted to run this were already survivors because they use infinite Horror Soak on peak to make sure that this is never going to fall off. The Key of Yeast just gives you so much. It's going to soak 3 horror for you eventually. It gives you +3 to all stats. it's just a wild card. And making it exceptional doesn't fix the problem, it just makes it less fun. Because now if you want to run the most broken card in the game, it costs you 10 experience and you get to make even less cool deck building decisions than you previously got to. Key of Yeast, even on exceptional, is just absolutely incredible. Now you just have to make sure you run 2 backpacks with it, throw in like short supply and scavenging like you would do in a Tommy deck to make sure you find it. This card is insane, it's overpowered. I just occasionally forget it exists. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go see how Key of Yeast would do whatever it is I'm doing in the deck, I don't know. And every time I look, I'm like, oh yeah, it does what I need it to do. Because like there's no deck that doesn't want 3 Horror Soak and +3 to all stats. And then I go back to pretending it doesn't exist and acting like it's not there, because this card is just broken. Speaking of cards that are just broken, we have our number 2, Flute of the Outer Gods. This card is comically awful. Most cards that suck have the decency to just be bad, but Flute of the Outer Gods is gonna bait you into playing it to steal as many curse tokens as possible. At which point you will then have spent all of your money on a card that does basically nothing. Even if someone handcuffs a Deep Wind Bull and gives it to you so you can walk around with the guy and slap other people with the Deep Wind Bull, congratulations, you spent like what, 6 resources and 4 experience in a hand slot, and your teammate's synergy package apparently, to get Tesla's 2 damage or rounds. Like if you're the fighter, that's not good enough. If you're the flex, that's okay, but that's a lot of resources in a class that isn't great at making money. Mystic Forward means you don't have great economy. Like this just doesn't do enough ever in anyone for anything. When I say that Lightning Gun could be better in every way, Flute of the Outer Gods really couldn't be worse in any way. Well, I guess if it were exceptional, it could be worse, right? Like it could be a 5-cost exceptional card. It used to be a 4-cost exceptional card. So it has improved, but Flute of the Outer Gods is just unplayable. And if you do play it, our experience has been that it just ruins your deck and you made a horrible mistake. But my least favorite card in the game, and in my opinion, the most overpowered card in the game, even over Key of Yeast, is Delve Too Deep. The game just isn't balanced around you getting a bunch of extra experience. It's not balanced around that at all. So Delve Too Deep just makes the early game scenarios a little bit harder, not much, a little bit harder. And then you go into scenario 8 with like 14 extra experience, and of course the game's really easy. For the longest time, our team really hated playing Delve Too Deep because of the play patterns it encourages, where you have like 3 Doom left and you can leave, but everyone's like, no, stick around. We need to protect the Mystic and help him draw cards so that they can play Delve Too Deep and we can get experience. And then you get it, and everyone but the Mystic resigns. The Mystic plays a Delve and plays another Delve, and then he resigns. And it's just not fun to play with, and it trivializes later scenarios, and there's nothing about the card that is either balanced or fun. They could theoretically rework the card, right? They can make it a dilemma and change it so that it is, as a group, draw investigator number cards split as evenly as possible. So if people resign, the Mystic just gets all of them, and because it's a dilemma, you can't hold it. Like they could do stuff to balance it, and it would make the card not have those toxic play patterns. But the game just isn't balanced around it. No matter how much better you make the play pattern of the card, if you go into a final scenario with like 2 whole extra scenarios of experience, you're gonna do way better, you're gonna crush the scenario, and that's the expected result. Experience has value, and the campaigns aren't balanced around this, and they shouldn't be. So in my opinion, Delve Too Deep is the only card in the game that I want to see put on the forbidden list. There's no other card in the game where I would like to see it forbidden, but Delve Too Deep, I actually think this is just the wrong taboo. I understand that it is technically not a problematic card in the way that Double or Nothing is, but it is an obviously true statement that no campaign is balanced around giving you 14 free experience for your whole group. Anyways, I've been Rather Coherent. These have been my least favorite cards in the game. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about them. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff really does help the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.